Hello friend and welcome back to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. My name is Tori Solis and today I'm going to be testing Purple Aster from Mako Colors Stoneware Collection. I'll be testing this glaze on 7 different clay body test tiles as well as on a textured white stoneware mug. This is a Cone 6 glaze that's listed as lead-free, non-toxic, and dinnerware safe by the manufacturer. Before I open this glaze, I want to make sure it's mixed extremely well. I usually use a drill with an egg beater attachment to mix up my glazes, but because this one has chunky bits that are meant to be chunky inside of it, I'm going to mix it by shaking it extremely well and then use a stir stick to make sure there isn't any unwanted mineral material clumped up at the bottom of the glaze. These blue chunky bits are going to be the source of the blue fleck effect in this glaze of the fired work. So while you're applying your glaze, keep in mind that the more blue bits you have on your work, the more blue flecking you're going to get in the end. I'm going to be brushing glaze onto my test tiles. I brush my tiles in 1, 2, and 3 coats with the thickest coat at the top of the tile. I fire my tiles hanging on a high alumina rod to see how a glaze will perform on a vertical surface. In this way, I'm also testing for running. With the thickest coat of glaze at the top of the tile, if it's going to run, it's got somewhere to go. I like to test glazes on a lot of different clay bodies to get a general idea of how a glaze is going to behave on different colors and surfaces. Everyone out there is working with a different kind of clay, and maybe one of these tiles can help you guess at what might happen for you. As always, I strongly recommend that you make your own test tiles and fire them in your own kiln. Fire your tiles exactly how you would fire your normal work. There are a lot of different factors that go into how a glaze is going to turn out. The best way to see how a glaze is going to work for you in your kiln on your clay body with your application is to do your own testing. Looking at the textured white stoneware mug, this glaze is a light pink with blue flecks. The blue flecks are where we had those chunky bits we discussed earlier. This glaze breaks slightly over texture and has some additional lighter modeling in areas of thicker application. There's a lot of nice coloration and interesting detail in this glaze. I'm not seeing any crazing suggesting a good fit for this body, and I don't see any other major obvious glaze flaws, and it has a very nice glossy finish. On this white stoneware test tile, you can see this nice pink coloration as the base with the addition of the blue flecks. The pink runs into the blue, sometimes creating additional interest. The lighter modeling is much more clear to see on this tile, especially in the areas of thicker application. There was a slight bit of downward movement on this tile, so take care not to apply this glaze too thickly to your wares. The Laguna B-Mix tile looks much the same, with mottled pink and blue flecks. Again, we're seeing a slight bit of movement and pooling on the right side of the tile, but nothing I'm too concerned with. This glaze is consistent on Laguna Frost Porcelain as well, mottled light pink with blue flecks and the slightest bit of movement from areas of thicker application. The speckles on my speckled body are mostly muted, with a small bit of the speckle bleeding through into the glaze in some areas. There's a slight bit more downward movement on this tile, so it looks like it will vary a little between different clay bodies. Be sure to do your own testing. The color here is still the consistent mottled pink with blue flecks and has a slightly less glossy surface compared to some of the other tiles. There's less movement on the Laguna Speckled Buff tile. The color is consistent and the speckles bleed through ever so slightly. The texture breaking on this tile looks especially nice over the deeper texture areas. Even on a red stoneware clay, the pink color is consistently pastel and the blue flecks are just as bright as on lighter bodies. Slight downward movement from the areas of 3 coats, but very minimal. I like the way the darker stoneware looks in areas where this glaze breaks over texture. I think there could be some cool work made around that idea. The overall coloration is a slight bit toastier on Laguna B3 Black, but overall this tile looks nice. The blue seems to have run more into the pink on this tile, but the overall downward glaze movement on this tile is very minimal. The surface is fairly glossy, so it looks like we may have another glaze to use on black stoneware bodies. All around this glaze is a consistent mottled pink with blue flecks melting into the matrix in places where the blue chunky bits are applied in application. This glaze seems to fit well on most clay bodies, but may run if you get your application too thick. I think this glaze has potential to be especially interesting when used over highly textured, darker clay bodies. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I hope you enjoyed learning more about this glaze and can make use of this information in your own studio. If you'd like to help support my channel so I can get more glazes to test for you, consider becoming a member of my channel right here on YouTube. If you'd like to see all the ceramics I currently have available for sale, visit my website, bluenosetrading.com. If you want to stick around for more art videos, be sure to subscribe to this channel, Blue Nose Trading. Thank you so much for being here until the end of the video. Remember that you have great ideas that are worth exploring, drink enough water, and I will see y'all in the next video.